Big news for the San Francisco 49ers. They will open the season against the Los Angeles Rams, not at Levi's South, much further south in Melbourne, Australia, and might have another second international game. We got some awards as well for the San Francisco 49ers in the 2025 season coming up on today's Locked On 49ers.
You are Locked On 49ers, your daily San Francisco 49ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On 49ers. Brian Peacock and Eric Crocker at BD Peacock at Coach Crocky. Thanks, everybody, for making us your first listen here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And thanks for making Locked On the number one sports podcast network. Could not do it without all the everydayers out there. Today's episode of Locked On 49ers is brought to you by FanDuel. There's only one more game. It's the last call for football on FanDuel, Super Bowl 60. And if you're a new customer, bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if you win. All right, Croc, it is now official. The San Francisco 49ers are going to play in Melbourne, Australia to open the season against the Los Angeles Rams. We heard Jed York talking about yesterday that the 49ers are going to give up a home game for an international game. And it's not this one because this is a Rams home game that the 49ers are going to play on the road in Melbourne, Australia. And from the way that beat writers are talking about it, they already know, and they've already got flights set because they're talking about Mexico City as well, potentially being a game on the 49ers schedule, which might be, I can't think of a time that a team had two separate international games in two different cities. Because like the Jaguars stayed in London and had two games in one spot. But I've never heard of a team having two international games in two different cities around the world. Like the 49ers, it looks like they will have potentially in the 2026 season, Croc.
Do you go to Australia coming off of a bye week? It has to be, right?
It's going to start the season. So,
or a short week. Oh, so, start the season.
Yeah, it's a crazy flight. Actually, I got some flight information here about the travel the 49ers will have to go through if they do have both international games. The Australia game alone is so far away, which is probably why they've never played Australia football games, even though I think the audience will be great in Australia for an NFL game, and especially for a 49ers game, because as we talked about earlier this week, there is a ton of 49ers fans in Australia. This is a road game, but it's going to feel like a home game, I think, in Levi's deep south in Melbourne, Australia. 16-hour flight, I believe it is. I flew to Australia and then took a connector to New Zealand when I went on my honeymoon to New Zealand. I didn't spend any time, though, except for at an airport in Australia. It is a crazy long flight. So I'm guessing they have to start the season like on a Thursday and give them a little mini bye to come back. I mean, that would be crazy to ask them to have that kind of a flight and then essentially give teams a short week going into week two.
I'm
Thursday
looking
or Friday, maybe.
Yeah, I'm looking right now, and it says flights to Australia usually take between 15 to 23 hours, depending on your origin. U.S. West Coast flights from L.A. or San Francisco are averaging 15 plus hours. Whew. That's a
good joke.
I mean, now, not saying this makes it any better, but hopefully they set those guys are real nice on like a private plane where you got the recliners and got food and all type of stuff, because that is long.
You got to, man. You absolutely.
My son flew to the Philippines and it was a pretty long flight.
To the Philippines, you said?
Yeah, to the Philippines.
Yeah.
Juice.
That's a crazy flight. How about this, though, from Matt Barrows? So if the 49ers play in Melbourne and Mexico City, the 49ers will log roughly 19,600 air miles. To put that into perspective, 20 teams traveled fewer miles during their entire 2025 season. The
Wow.
Bengals logged a league low 8,753 miles, which would get you to Australia, but not back. So that's a crazy amount of travel for the San Francisco 49ers. Not only do you give up a home game to play internationally, but play two home games and have the longest flight that you can have. essentially to play a football game in the NFL as one of those. So really interesting. And it probably, I mean, it's awesome, I think, for the fans. It's awesome for the fans in Australia. And it's awesome for the fans in Mexico City. And it's rough on the players, though, Croc. That is a disadvantage.
Yeah, definitely rough. Again, just your body. They tell you certain things if you're dealing with nagging injuries or anything swollen, flying like that causes even more inflammation. So I can only imagine if your body's going through anything on the way, how that can affect you, especially getting ready for a game. And then once you get all banged up and you got to hop on that flight and get right back, I mean, how would your body feel with that? So that is a tough turnaround for any professional football player.
So I'm not tuned into the NFL awards, Croc, but in the chat, we're finding out some things as well. And I know that the 49ers did get an award, but how about this one? Stafford can go ahead and retire, says DJ Bo.
Hall of Fame now?
Coming off of an MVP win, he can now retire. He's got an MVP. He's got a Super Bowl.
I feel like Stafford's career is kind of weird because he was clearly so talented throughout his career, but he just wasn't getting the results with the Lions. And then he goes to the Rams and it's like, hey, I'm one of the top 5 quarterbacks every year with the Rams. I'll go and I win a Super Bowl. And then now I get an MVP at the tail end of my career. Is that enough to catapult him into the NFL Hall of Fame conversation? It's at least a conversation, but does he actually get in? And I'm excited to talk about a 49er player that got in. There's one that didn't, right? There's still no Frank Gore. But
no Frank Gore. I'm looking right now at a photograph of the Pro Football Hall of Fame 2026 class, and there is one San Francisco 49er that has had to wait too long to get in, and it is Roger Craig. So burying the lead here with Roger Craig tonight, getting voted in officially to the 2026 class Hall of Fame. I'm going to put this on the screen here. Cam Edmond tweeting out a photo of it here, and I want to put it on the screen because this is
while you're putting that up there. Do you remember the preseason conversation about Matthew Stafford, and we're talking about his elbow, and there were talks about Jimmy Garoppolo potentially having to start the season, and we're like, oh yeah, Matthew Stafford, I think he's done so. And he's like, not only am I not done, I'm actually going to come back another year, but this year I'm going to win NFL MVP.
It's crazy, man. The NFL is such a nutty sport. Both of the teams that are in the playoffs, I did a podcast with Matt Williamson, the NFL Six Pack Pod, talking about the top 6 teams that could get into the playoffs and potentially be in the Super Bowl next year. Neither one of the Super Bowl teams were in the playoffs. I mean, the league changes so much year to year, week to week. It changes game to game. You might look like you're dominating the first half, and all of a sudden, what's going on in the second half of a football game? So that's why the sport's so awesome. That's why it's so fun. But the picture on the screen right now, if you're watching live on YouTube, has the 2026 Hall of Fame class. And as you can see, second from the right is 49ers legend Roger Craig. Congratulations on getting into the Hall of Fame, Roger Craig.
That's pretty awesome. I mean, what he did, the first back, 1,000 and 1,000, that's something that's still an extremely difficult feat to accomplish. It really kind of changed the game, the way that running backs were used coming out of the backfield. And I know me, right? We talk about Christian McCaffrey and what he's doing and should come back player of the year. That was an awesome award for him. But, you think about the Marshall Faulks and Marshall Faulk being an MVP of the NFL and what he was. And I don't know if we would ever have any of those kind of guys if it weren't for somebody like Roger Craig, who kind of set the standard. So it's pretty awesome. Like Damian Tomlinson, right? Another guy kind of in that kind of mold of being a pass catcher as well as a terrific running back. So pretty awesome to see him finally get into Canton.
Absolutely. Patriots are in the Super Bowl. You know who's not in the Hall of Fame, though? Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft. Neither one of them got in. Roger Craig did get in. As you can see there, Larry Fitzgerald in the middle, Drew Brees, part of the Hall of Fame class. Just a phenomenal. A kicker getting in the Hall, Croc.
Yeah, I think they're telling us that they believe the Patriots were cheating a lot, right? I mean, obviously they got caught for the Spygate stuff, and there was
the kicker got in. The kicker got in, but the coach and the owner did not.
Yeah, and that's tough. I mean, because I feel like this when it comes to that, right? There are a lot of guys that you may have to think about. Are they a Hall of Famer or are they not? I feel like you don't have that question or even conversation about Bill Belichick. It's just like, well, of course, he's the greatest NFL head coach ever. So for him to not get in, I understand the Spygate and all that stuff, but that dude is a Hall of Fame coach every day. I don't know how you leave him off and how you even feel comfortable voting and not getting him in there. I wouldn't feel comfortable leaving that room knowing I voted for like somebody else.
Well, here's the thing about it is if I don't know how close the vote was. If one voter takes the vote away from Roger Craig and votes for Kraft or Belichick, Roger Craig maybe doesn't get in.
Because you only have well, he didn't get in because I voted for Bill Belichick. I think everybody, okay, I understand.
Well, right, but that could have been the difference too, and I think that's why some of the voters and you can find a thread on Twitter from Hall of Fame voter Mike Sando, and he broke down how it could happen. Some people think that the 1 year is not enough time, and so they just maybe aren't going to vote someone 1 year away because not the 5-year thing, and they are against the new rules that have changed with the voting, and maybe it's making a statement that way. And if you can only vote for 3 guys, and you might say, well, Belichick's of course going to get in, so I'm not going to waste my Belichick vote. I really think that Roger Craig should get in, so I want to make sure I have one of my votes for Roger Craig. And Craig did get in, and Belichick did not. Belichick's going to get in. It's just not. He's just not getting in on the first ballot. So is Robert Kraft, by the way, as well. All right, Croc. Let's talk more awards. Christian McCaffrey, in a majority of the awards, he got some votes, and he did win one of those awards. Kyle Shanahan had some votes as well. Did not win Coach of the Year. Let's talk more awards, NFL awards, and let's get into the chat a little bit as well. I got some great questions about the San Francisco 49ers going into 2026. We'll get into all of it next. This episode of Locked On 49ers is brought to you by ZocDoc. Finding a doctor you actually like can feel like discovering a diamond in the rough. Sure, you want someone who's in network, nearby, and has availability, but it's hard enough to find that sometimes. But you also want a doctor who listens, makes you feel comfortable, and explains things clearly. That kind of doctor does exist, and finding them is easy with ZocDoc. ZocDoc is a free app and website that helps you find and book high-quality in-network doctors so you can find someone you love without all the hassle. We're talking about booking in-network appointments with more than 150,000 providers across 50 states, covering over 200 specialties from primary care, dentistry to dermatology and eye care. ZocDoc makes the process simple. You can search by specialty or symptom and actually build a care team that works for you. Real-time availability, book instantly, no phone calls, no waiting around. So you can feel confident in a doctor you'll actually like with verified patient reviews. So stop putting off those doctor's appointments and go to ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNFL to find and instantly book a doctor you love today. That's ZocDoc, ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNFL, ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNFL. Thanks to ZocDoc for sponsoring this message. If you've ever hired someone who looked good on paper but wasn't the right fit, you know how important that is. When you want candidates who truly match what you're looking for, trust Indeed sponsored jobs. Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling when you get to get your job post seen on other sites. Indeed sponsored jobs puts your post at the top of the page and helps you reach the right candidates faster. And instead of struggling to get your job post seen, Indeed sponsored jobs helps your listing stand out and reach quality candidates faster. And according to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed are 90% more likely to report a hire than non-sponsored jobs. Spend more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with less stress, less time, and more results using Indeed sponsored jobs. Listeners of this show get $75 sponsored job credit to help give your job the premium placement it deserves at Indeed.com/LockedOnNFL. Just go to Indeed.com/LockedOnNFL right now and support the show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, do it the right way with Indeed. Christian McCaffrey, comeback player of the year. This had to be a landslide for Christian McCaffrey, who really was everything for the 49ers offense this year after playing in so few games, coming off injury. We didn't really know what to expect from Christian McCaffrey, and we certainly, Croc, didn't expect Christian McCaffrey to come back from those injuries and not get hurt after getting 450 touches in the 49ers offense. It was really unbelievable what Christian McCaffrey was able to do this year, and it was a shoe-in comeback player of the year.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I think we all expected that. Definitely comeback player of the year, no doubt about it. I think the biggest one that I maybe wasn't anticipating, but it makes a lot of sense, offensive player of the year. Didn't quite get it, but was just shy. I don't want to say just shy, but what was he, second in votes for offensive player of the year?
Yeah, he was number 2 in votes, it looks like, for offensive player of the year, which surprises me because I thought Puka would at least be number 2 or potentially number 1. I did think Jackson Smith and Jigba will get it, and he would have got my vote for offensive player of the year. Jackson Smith and Jigba got 14 first-place votes. Christian McCaffrey got 12 first-place votes. And Puka got 8. Bijan was next, and Drake May. So Drake May falling short, MVP falling short of offensive player of the year as well. It's offensive player and MVP is such a weird thing because it's like you don't vote for quarterbacks for offensive player of the year because the MVP has become the quarterback award. Because in reality, how could Drake May be second in MVP but not be offensive player of the year?
Right. I think that they should do away with MVP. If you're on now, I know there was the year with Adrian Peterson,
yeah,
where he got it. But if you're only going to give it, and traditionally this is what's happening, it goes to a quarterback, then why not just have a quarterback award and then have offensive player of the year that goes to other guys? Because I just feel like it's kind of weird, like where there's times where I think Christian McCaffrey, probably a couple years ago, should have been NFL MVP the way that he played for the 49ers and what he did. And it's like, well, if he can't get it in this year, and there's been times where last year, I feel like they forced it on the quarterback. It was a down year for the quarterback position. I think, who did they give it to? Was it Lamar? Was it Lamar Jackson last year?
Lamar. I believe
Was that the year
Lamar,
before? Or was that the year before?
It was Lamar, then Josh Allen, right?
Yeah.
So
so Josh Allen last year. So Lamar Jackson year, though, that was a down year for quarterbacks. That should have went to somebody else. It was clearly a down year. When you compare that season to any other of the recent quarterback MVPs, you look at the number, like that wasn't supposed to just go to a quarterback, but it still did. So that just let me know there's nothing these skill guys can do to get that spot, or there's nothing a pass rusher could do to get the MVP. So if you're just going to give it to a quarterback, they need to rename it and name it something else. Or just come out and tell us that only quarterbacks will get this award.
Some more breaking news from the NFL awards that are ongoing, Croc. Matthew Stafford ended his MVP speech by announcing he will return in 2026. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
Stafford coming back. Stafford coming back.
Maybe Hall of Fame after that.
Did Kyle Shanahan get snubbed, Croc? He was 5th in Coach of the Year voting. Am I seeing that right?
I think that he should have been maybe 4th. Right. Like Vrabel. Okay, so Vrabel, Cohen, Johnson. Excuse me, not Johnson. Vrabel and Cohen specifically. And then you can add McDonald in there as well. I think those guys should have been over Kyle Shanahan. Not Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson did cool, but he shouldn't have been over Kyle. But Vrabel and Cohen, those are guys that took over teams that had 4 and 5 wins the year before, and to turn it around, the Patriots won 14 games and are in the Super Bowl. I mean, the Super Bowl stuff doesn't factor into this, or at least it's not supposed to. But a 4 or 5 win team that turns around and wins 14 games, and the coach did it in his first year as head coach of this team.
I mean, the 49ers only won 6 games last year.
Yeah, but it's the same coach. And now you can factor other things into it, right? Like, oh, well, they won 6 games. Well, you had injuries, you had this, you had that going on. This guy took over a team, and I remember there was a player potentially traded to him. Oh, it was Brandon Ayuk, and I think it was the year before. But it was like, oh, why would you want to go to the Patriots? Like, that's how the Patriots were viewed. And now a quarterback going into his second year and leading them to the Super Bowl with Vrabel, like having his hands on that. Oh man, that's an incredible season. And then Cohen almost as impressive or just as impressive when you factor in people thought, oh, Trevor Lawrence, trash, terrible, right? He's a bust, shouldn't get any money. And it's like, well, yeah, all I'm going to do is go win 13 games with the Jacksonville Jaguars, a team that started to seem like they had really foundational issues with the organization. Like, that's hard to overcome. And the dude that did the goofy Duval did that and then turn around and win 13 games. That's pretty damn impressive.
Kyle robbed again. Come on. Patriots cupcake schedule.
Kyle was robbed in the sense of
he didn't even have to beat a quarterback in the AFC Championship game. Although this is a regular season award, so votes happen before the playoffs, so those don't count.
Kyle was playing Madden on a different difficulty level than everybody else.
Yeah.
And that's where I believe Kyle is in the conversation. But regardless of that, if I'm the Patriots or I'm the Seahawks or I'm the Jags, that's not our fault. And we've had a damn good year, regardless. So in the first year as head coach, you can. I don't think Kyle was snubbed on this one.
There were some good candidates. But I do think that Kyle Shanahan, 5th, I think is, come on. Although he did have more first place votes. He had 6 first place votes, which was more votes than Ben Johnson, but apparently enough people didn't vote for Kyle Shanahan at all. And Ben Johnson still had more points total in the other voting. I think is it the same as the Hall of Fame? I'm not sure how the voting goes for it. It might be the same as the Hall of Fame voting where it's you vote for 3 guys, 1, 2, and 3. But Shanahan had 6 first place votes. Ben Johnson only had 1, but Ben Johnson had more points and was 4th in the overall voting. Mike Vrabel.
I don't think Ben Johnson should have been over him.
I mean, he did basically in the NFC what Mike Vrabel did, but had a more difficult schedule. Took over a team and turned them around.
I heard the argument with the Pats that yes, they did. They did. Their schedule wasn't as difficult, but I guess the defenses that they faced were just as challenging as some of the other teams. Like, their defenses they faced were really good, and they were able to overcome that. Especially for a guy, and I believe that was many times with the argument that Drake May should have really been up for MVP or like potentially won the MVP. That's who she felt like should have won.
The easiest award of all was Myles Garrett, Defensive Player of the Year. Very deserving there. Sack record. Tedero McMillan, Offensive Rookie of the Year. Carson Schlesinger. So doubling up on defenders. Myles Garrett for the Browns, Defensive Player of the Year. Carson Schlesinger.
Is Myles Garrett a Hall of Famer?
Yes.
See, you didn't even have to think about it. It was just a definite, like, just yes.
That's a Hall of Famer.
There's no thought.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
That's a Hall of Famer. That's a real Hall of Famer. When you could just, is this guy a Hall of Famer? Duh. We don't even have to think about it.
Yeah, of course. That's
his career kind of started this way, and I don't know. Then this was weird, but then he did this. You only got to think about Hall of Fame. I feel like that's what the Hall of Fame should be. A bunch of guys that you do not have to think about at all.
Right.
The Deion Sanders, Shannon Sharp, the Aaron Donald, JJ Watt. Like, you don't have to think about it. It's just that's a Hall of Fame football player.
Yeah. I'm kind of a small hall guy. I agree there. Next, Croc, Super Bowl Sunday, nearly upon us. Got to make our picks for the Super Bowl. Speaking of those Patriots, can they beat the Seattle Seahawks on Sunday in Super Bowl 60? Next. This episode of Locked On 49ers is brought to you by Robinhood. prediction markets. What if sports were traded like markets? Now you can put your sports IQ to work in real time with Robinhood prediction markets. It's not you against the house. It's you participating in a live market. You can buy or sell your positions live all game long. Use your sports knowledge in the moments that matter. Robinhood prediction markets changes the game. It's people moving the action. So when momentum shifts, you can move with it. You always knew the game, right? But never had a dynamic way to apply that knowledge. Now you can take part live in a market powered by people. You're no longer just a spectator. Play by play, you decide. Trade every play with Robinhood, now available across the U.S. Download the Robinhood app now to begin. Futures and cleared swaps trading involves significant risk and is not appropriate for everyone. Event contracts are offered by Robinhood Derivatives LLC, a registered futures commission merchant and swap firm. This episode is also brought to you by our friends at Home Chef. As the new year gets going, a lot of people are trying to simplify their routines, and dinner is a big one. Between busy work days, cold winter nights, and packed schedules, having an easy, reliable dinner plan makes a huge difference, and that's where Home Chef comes in. Home Chef takes the stress out of cooking by delivering fresh, pre-portioned ingredients right to your door with easy-to-follow recipes that actually taste great. They're rated #1 by users of other meal kits for quality, convenience, value, taste, and recipe ease. And it's easy to see why meals come ready to fit your schedule. 30-minute recipes, oven-ready trays, or quick lunches. Over 30 weekly options, including family-sized meals and different dietary choices. And for a limited time, Home Chef is offering our listeners 50% off your first box, free shipping, and free dessert for life. Just go to homechef.com/lockedon. That's homechef.com/lockedon for 50% off your first box, free shipping, and free dessert for life. Must be an active subscriber to receive that free dessert. All right, Croc, Super Bowl 60. It's the Seattle Seahawks and the New England Patriots. Who you got? How do you see this one going down on Sunday? You seem to be pretty high on these New England Patriots.
I like the coach, man. I like Vrabel.
Yeah, he's good.
I don't want to see the Seahawks win, but I am rooting for Sam Darnold. I've made that very clear. So I don't know how I can root for Sam Darnold without, but like him not win. Like I just like overcoming the kind of the underdog story. And it's weird. Somebody was drafted #3 overall. How is he an underdog? But just the way people started talking about him, he's a bust. He's this, he's that. And I love seeing guys fight back from that. And we saw it with the 49ers. And I still see comments like, oh, he was bad with the Niners. Like, he wasn't bad with the 49ers. He only had one opportunity to play. And he only played, 2 drives with the starters, and they were scoring touchdowns, and then they took all the starters out and they ended up losing the game. But I thought he was terrific in training camp. I thought I saw the signs that this is a guy that could be good in Kyle Shanahan's system. And to watch him go to Minnesota, do what he did, win 14 games, turn around, win another 14 games with another team, and also lead them to the Super Bowl when he needed to. I didn't think he had to lead them versus the 49ers in those 2 games. But then in the conference championship game, where it's like, okay, I got to come up big here, or divisional round game, conference championship game, one of those games, conference championship game, man, he balled out, did his thing. So it's exciting for me to just kind of see what he's done. Feels weird. I don't want Seattle to win, but I want him to win. That's kind of a weird little thing going on. I have going on in my brain right now. But if I had to put money on it, I probably would go Patriots.
Interesting. Well, you maybe
if I had to go money, if I had to put money on it, I would put money on New England. And I think New England's the underdog.
They are the underdog. Yeah, absolutely. So maybe go over to FanDuel, money line Patriots. It hasn't really changed all week. I bet there's going to be some late movement over the weekend and on Sunday, and I wonder if that money will come in on the Patriots side. But right now, the Seahawks, and they have been all week, favored by 4.5 points. I think they should be favored. I think they're a better football team. I think the Super Bowl was the NFC Championship game, much like it was in the mid 90s with the 49ers and the Cowboys and the Packers and those games. Maybe not quite to that level, but I just think the Seattle Seahawks, more battle tested, are better top to bottom. But you could make the argument that the Patriots potentially do have the better quarterback and maybe the better coach. And they have a very good defense themselves too. And I just don't see. It's just going to be so difficult for a second-year quarterback. This is by far the most difficult challenge they're going to have. They're playing against a team that has an offense that can score, they can run, they can pass, and it's very difficult to run on them. So Drake, we're going to be talking about Drake May as a special dude, and I think we probably already are. He was runner-up in MVP in his second year, right, Croc? If the Patriots do win this one. Drake May is going to be.
Because I feel like we still don't talk about him that way.
Right.
Not in the same light as other young quarterbacks.
Well, how about this?
A lot of these young quarterbacks, if they're doing what he's doing, second in MVP votes to Matthew Stafford, heading to the Super Bowl, I feel like there should be a lot more buzz around that. And maybe I'm just naive and I'm focused on all this other stuff outside of the NFL, but I don't hear that. I don't hear that buzz surrounding his name right now, or that talk about Drake May being just this special generational quarterback. It's kind of flying under the radar as a topic right now. But maybe this game on Sunday is an opportunity for him to really catapult himself into that discussion. I'm not hearing that right now, though.
So Tom Brady won with his first Super Bowl in his second year, right? For an upstart Patriots team that had a defensive-minded head coach. Like we're not on the verge of some crazy 20-year run again, because I can't handle another Patriots dynasty. Okay, so I don't want to see a Seahawks dynasty either. Don't get me wrong, but if Drake May truly is that level of quarterback, and we talked about how good of a coach Mike Vrabel is. They keep building on where they are right now because they did a lot of work in free agency to get to this point. And they have a lot of work to still do, I think, as far as drafting and developing a new nucleus. But if they have that coach and they have that level of quarterback, MVP level of quarterback in his second year, goes and wins a Super Bowl, that might be scary for the AFC, man.
I think the weird thing when you think about that, right, especially with Vrabel, and I was trying to think of it like kind of a storyline that kind of goes hand in hand with what we're seeing right now. But Belichick, that was actually his first year as head coach, and he had a ton of experience under some really good coaches, taking over in the early year New England Patriots during that time. They're also a Patriots team that had been to the Super Bowl a few years prior when it was Drew Bledsoe, and he was the guy going up against Brett Favre and the Green Bay Packers. So it's pretty cool to see this with Vrabel. Now, this is his second spin. I think everybody knew that Vrabel was a terrific coach, even with Tennessee. It's interesting the results you get when you don't quite have just the quarterback to really help you take that step to reaching Super Bowls like this. But Drake May, in just his second year, a guy that was deemed to kind of be more of a project, he looks to be really ready to go in year two. So Vrabel doing a terrific job, obviously, with the defense. I like what they've done at the running back position with Stevenson, Henderson. Those guys are running the ball well. And then, all right, Drake May just make some throws when need be. And he's done a terrific job with that. Stephon Diggs, getting him involved, a guy that, is coming off of a injury and now he's playing. And so I'm excited, just watching Stephon Diggs and what he's doing. But a lot of good storylines in this game.
Well, by the way, speaking of developing a young quarterback, Josh McDaniels back as the offensive coordinator. He won assistant coach of the year, and hold on. How many rings does Josh McDaniels have?
He's pretty good at this stuff when it comes to being the offensive coordinator. Head coach, not so much, but coordinator
didn't work out as well. He has one with the Broncos, right?
A Super Bowl? No.
No. Okay, he was head coach.
He was the head coach of the Broncos.
He was head coach of the Broncos, right? Was he head coach of the Broncos when they had Tebow?
I want to say he was the guy that drafted Tebow.
Brutal. Right? Okay, well, get him away from the draft room. He doesn't need to be head coach, but he can coach up an offense, and he can help out a quarterback, clearly. And they're doing that with the New England Patriots. Should be fun. Super Bowl 60. Croc and I will be back to break down Super Bowl 60, talk more about the San Francisco 49ers, and we'll be fully immersed in the offseason after one more football game, more podcasts about draft prospects, talking free agency, talking trades, and I am predicting the 49ers are going to make a big trade in this offseason. So we'll have it all for you right here. So make sure you stay tuned every day to Locked On 49ers.